I've read a little more about this book. I'm just showing it for the third time. This book, I've read a little more about it, and I will reflect on it as my career project continued. Okay, the first thing that stood out to me as I read more, which is a bit funny. I'll read it. So it's like a person named Jim Johnson's motto when he was promoting his campaign. I'm not sure what campaign is it. It's a blur, but maybe the Senate, maybe like someone important in the government. Anyways, I'll read it. It's pretty funny. It was like so that's his motto. That's what he's trying to promote. So he tried to promote this. You are good, decent, God fearing people. They are threatening your way of life. You don't have to change. It's all their fault. Elect me and I'll stand up for you just as you are and kick the hell out of them. So, so it's so funny, but it's funny because it's true. That's what a lot of people is doing right now. Like in many countries, in many presidential campaign, they're this the way that they're doing it. It's so funny. I know it sounds funny, but it's funny because it's true. And then, so he was really into these kind of stuff, like Bill Clinton's really into these. And then he ended up working in the Senate. This is his description when he was working at the Senate, when he started working in the Senate, when he was in college. So that's his description. When I went to work there, the Senate was full of big personalities and high drama. I tried to absorb it all. So that's his description. And the two of the person that seemed to stood out to him the most, which I won't put the quote on here because I summarized it a little bit myself, not exactly as the quote in the book, but he one person is John McClellan. So I'll post the name here. Okay, and then so he described him as blunt, led a life of ambition and anguish, had many sorrow. For example, when he served in World War I, he was cheated. When he came back, he discovered he was cheated by his first wife, and so he left her, and then he had a second wife, and then she died. And then he had a third wife and stayed till when he died, which is a good thing. But while he was alive, all three of his sons died. So isn't it like really tragical? And then for a short while, he drank some alcohol, but he is really iron-willed, very strong and determined, and give up on liquor completely when he decide it's not a part of his value. So he's very strong and blunt and ambitious and angry too. So that's the kind of person he is. And then he also noticed another person, which his name is Fulbright. And then he described him different from McClellan as daylight from dark. So he described him as carefree and secure, less dogmatic. He had a happy marriage. He was once fired because his mom's sharply critical editorials, which means like publication focused on expressing opinions instead of on commercial stuff, like more on expressing your opinions. So he was fired because of it, because of his mom's opinion, like in like publications. But then he won an open congressional seat in Northwest Arkansas when he was bored. So he had nothing to do. He was bored, so he went to run it, and he get elected and seated in Northwest Arkansas. And then he became a Senate by the time Bill Clinton was working for them. So they're completely different. One is like iron-willed, ambitious, and blunt. The other one is like carefree and just like very secure and get elected something when he was bored. So that's how different they are. So he went to explain more of the second person, which is Fulbright's ideology. So in Clinton's eyes, I will quote this one because it's almost the exact words. Purpose of politics was to enable people to develop all their faculties and enjoy their fleeting lives. So that's his ideology. And then, so people's lives are short. Politics should help them to achieve all the faculties of their very short life. And then, so what he's against, I'll read this part. The idea that power was an end in itself rather than provide security and opportunity necessary for the pursuit of happiness is self-defeating. So he was saying that power just by itself without like helping people's life to become better is self-defeating. So that's my word. That's my like more easy vocabulary. And then he went on talking about the Vietnam War, which it all started with the Vietnam Communist Group. The US people think it's Chinese expansionism, so which for some people, and then he introduced another person named Rusk. So Rusk think that Vietnam War is basically freedom versus communism. While people like Fulbright thinks that Vietnam government is not that democratic either. So there's two point of views in the US. And the reason for it, according to Bill Clinton, is that Fulbright studied in UK post World War One, so like after World War One, and he sees how Germans suffer from like losing the war, and then he sees war as a really bad thing. So because of it. And then Rusk, on the other hand, is before he went to study in UK before World War Two. So like about 10 years later. And then so what he sees is that communism, totalitarianism, and Nazis totalitarianism is very similar. It's like very like nationalist. It's very like brainwash everybody and then like not letting people like see the whole picture of things, and then like military, like trying to militarize they themselves, and then trying to expand very ambitiously, like it's like a threat to the capitalist countries. It's a threat to their safety and their ideology that everybody should have access to everything and they can choose for themselves. And that's why earlier in the chapter they say that communists can be institutionalized, like they're like very they because people don't choose for themselves, they are educated something, so that's why they understand less of it, because they're not like they don't see the full picture by experiencing everything themselves and see all perspectives. And then Bill Clinton comes to talk about his own life, because his life is about to go a little bit not as good. So he says, I'll quote it here: people inevitably search for the pleasure and deal with the pain of normal life under difficult, even bizarre circumstances. So his life is about to go like a little bit not as good. One of the thing is that his dad has died, and then a little detail he says here, because his dad says that his dad wasn't the perfect dad. His second dad, his first dad died before he was even born, and then So his second dad died, wishing that his funeral wouldn't be on a rainy day. And then he believed in God in the last moment, even though he did some bad things throughout his life. And in his last moment, he was brave and he wished everybody good. And then on his funeral, it was raining, and then everybody was so sad. But then, just in the moment when they're about to reach the place that they're gonna bury him, the rain has stopped and the sun came out. And then, so he was like, my dad found a forgiving God in the last moment. And then so his dad was buried in a sunny environment. So that was a little moment. And then he talks about something like kind of funny, like actually very funny, like compared to what he's gonna talk about next. He talk about he apply for Rhodes Scholar, which is a scholar that pays for 2 years of study in Oxford in UK. I'll turn to that page right now. Okay, so he have to go through around 14 interviews, and then in one of the interviews, the questioner was like, how he's like a fan of Fulbright, right? And they were saying like, how do you justify Senator Fulbright's effort to protect Arkansas chickens? And then when he just said he likes free trade, so he was like, I can't be inconsistent and say that, you know, um, I'm pro protecting the chickens and not have them free trade. Then that will be inconsistent. But at the same time, he doesn't want to be disloyal to Fulbright. So he just confessed, I didn't know anything about the chickens. I didn't have to agree with the senator on everything to be proud of working for him. And then someone just broke in and says that, Fulbright was trying to open foreign market for chickens. Yeah, and then he feel like he has ruined the interview because of the chickens. So he says that ever since he always know a lot about the chickens, no matter if he's the governor or he's the president, he always makes sure that he knows a lot about the chickens in his country. And then so I think it's like really funny. But then afterwards, he talked about something very heavy, which is that Martin Luther King Jr. was shot dead, like afterwards. And then right after, like Bobby Kennedy, which his full name is Robert Francis Kennedy, was also shot dead. And then according to Clinton, that Robbie Kennedy is a really good person. Like he went to South Africa to care for black people because he's like really care about the country's black people in America. So he went to like South Africa to like support them as well. And then while other president candidates is just like really lazy and staying home and like not giving their full effort to care for the people. And then so he was like really sad it happened. And then he passed the interviews for the Rhodes Scholar, and then he went to the UK. And then there's riot everywhere in like America, like the election, everything is a mess. And then that's where I'm at. Things is a mess right now. And then his grandma also died, so everything like is really sad for him. And then so that's what happened. And I'm about to read more, but this is a very long video, so I'll stop here.